stand united, warriors of the heart. For love is our armor, and this is just the start. Mystical moments as the fire crackles near, laughter and some tears as we conquer our fear. Epic is the journey of the soul's one ride, with the legacy forgers. It's time, get all in stride. Tonight we ascend to the dimension so vast, embracing the future, honoring the past. Sharp experience beckons as the flames dance high. In this cosmic embrace, we touch the sky. Stories of resilience, tales of rebirth, legacy forgers, we know our worth. From challenges faced to the love we found, in this sacred space, our spirits are unbound. So here by the cabin, as night turns to day, we'll remember this moment, come what may. For in the heart of nature, with the fire's warm embrace, we found our true calling in this mystical space. Mystical moments as the fire crackles near, laughter and some tears as we conquer our fear. Epic is the journey on the soul's wild ride, with the legacy forged, we take it all in stride. Mystical moments, smells of rebirth, legacy forgers, we know our worth. Challenges faced to the love we found, in this sacred space, our spirits are unbound. Gazing at the cabin, nestled beneath the trees, whispers of the ancients, carried by the breeze. Guitar strings are humming, firelight aglow. Legacy forgers, it's time to let go. For tonight we dive deep into realms unknown, where medicine's guidance, our spirits have grown. Tribe experience calls as the stars do shine. In this quantum dance, the universe is thine. Dragons we have battled, demons we've defied. Through the darkest valleys, even mountains we've climbed. Now we stand united, warriors of the heart. For love is our armor, and this is just the start. Mystical moments as the fire crackles near, laughter and some tears as we conquer our fear. Epic is the journey of the soul's one ride, with the legacy forgers. It's time, get all Gazing at the cabin, nestled neath the trees, whispers of the ancients, carried by the breeze. Guitar strings are humming, firelight aglow. Legacy forgers, it's time to let go. For tonight we dive deep into realms unknown. With plant missions guidance, our spirits have grown. Tribe experience calls as the stars do shine. In this quantum dance, the universe is thine. Dragons we have battled, demons we've defied. Through the darkest valleys and mountains we've climbed. Now we stand united, warriors of the heart. For love is our armor, and this is just the start. Dragons we have battled, demons we've defied. Through the darkest valleys and mountains we've climbed. Now we stand united, warriors of the heart. For love is our armor, and this is just the start. Mystical moments as the fire crackles near. Laughter and some tears as we conquer our fear. Epic is the journey of the soul's wild ride. With the legacy forge, we take it all in stride. For tonight we ascend to dimensions so vast, embracing the future, honoring the past. Tribe experience beckons as the flames dance high. In this cosmic embrace, we touch the sky. Stories of resilience, tales of rebirth. Legacy forgers, we know our worth. From challenges faced to the love we found. In this sacred space, our spirits are unbound. There's no stop. So here by the cabin, as night turns to day, we'll remember this moment. Come one day, for in the heart of
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Architects of Transformation. We are joined by geniuses all over the world, and we want to just start off with a boom. So in order to facilitate a frequency elevation, this is a world first, guys. And some of you on this call has heard this before, and we want to really kind of see what you feel, because it's more than a song. It's more than what it seems, as is everything that we try to do. So without further ado, I shall share this with you, and I look forward to hear what you think.
In the land of the north, where the wild winds blow, a spark was born in the depths below. The hammer struck the anvil, the fire came alive. A dream took form where the ancients survived. From the forest and fjord to the mountains high, we gathered the tribe under a northern sky. We are the forge, we are the flame, shaping the world will never be the same. With the wisdom of the old and the vision of the new, in the heart of the forge we make legends true. Oh, the legacy forge, where creators are born. In the dance of the flames we rise with the dawn. Through the cycles of life, from the ash we rise, building futures with fire in our eyes. We call to the seekers, the wanderers, the brave, to step in the forge and be no longer slaves. To the stories untold, to the paths not yet seen, we shape our own world like it's always been. We are the forge, we are the flame, shaping the world will never be the same. With the wisdom of the old and the vision of the new, in the heart of the forge we make legends true. Oh, the legacy forge, when creators are born. In the dance of the flames we rise with the dawn. We are the forge, we are the flame, shaping the world will never be the same. With the wisdom of the old and the vision with the dawn. From the darkness we've known to the light we now bear, the forge is our power, our truth we declare. With love in our hands and fire in our soul, we rise as one to make the whole world whole. The forge is alive, it's more than a place, it's the spark in our hearts, it's the courage we face. We are the forge, we are the flame, shaping the world will never be the same. With the wisdom of the old and the vision of the new, in the heart of the forge we make legends true. Oh, the legacy forge, when creators are born, in the dance of the flames we rise with the dawn. We are the forge, we are the flame, shaping the world will never be the same. With the wisdom of the old and the vision of the new, in the heart of the forge we make legends true. Oh, the legacy forge, when creators are born, in the dance of the flames we rise with the dawn. The legacy we build, the fire we tend, it's a story that never, never will end. The forge is the heart, the people the soul, together we rise, together we're whole.
The legacy we build, the fire we tend, it's a story that never, never will end. The forge is the heart, the people the soul, together we rise, together we're whole.
That's it. This thing is changing realities because it's identifying with something, and everyone here identifies with the same thing, to create realities more or less on a whim, and sometimes creepily quickly. I will leave it up to Lycus, our MC for today, to take it from here.
Hello, hello.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. So, with that epic start, let's introduce our guest, shall we? So, for today, we have Mrs. Lawrence of Lunov. We have Olya Alexic, the wonderful Mrs. Ilonka Shakshi, Mr. Ivan Nikolov,
Hello, everybody.
and Mr. Ernie Edel Pinas. Fantastic creators that we have here today. And they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves and what they do, how we work together, and how we can work together as a whole, not just as individuals, but as a community, as a movement, in order to change the world. So without further ado, everybody knows Mr. Torsipola. That needs no introduction. Not on this YouTube channel, at least. Okay, let's kick it off with our first segment, shall we? Before. I'm going to ask each of you, who were you before you were the you that you are now? A little bit complex. Who were you before? How did you get to be the person that you are now, doing what you do now? Mrs. Lauren, would you like to take it away?
Hello, hello. I get to go first with this very complex question. Thank you. Who were you before? So this is totally loaded for someone who lives lifetimes in a day, as most of you know. And also yet knowing I am nothing all at once, and what I do doesn't define who I am. But however, in walking this path, I will try to keep this as brief as possible, but there were many lifetimes lived. So I actually began, let's say, a career as a conservatory trained classical musician in New York City for almost 2 decades. I thrived in high performance settings. I have 2 performance degrees. And when I had my daughter was kind of the first stage. There was lots of evolutionary things happening there, but that was the first stage of really learning how to strip away old identities. This will make sense, I guess, farther along this conversation when it comes to the work I actually do. So yeah, I became a mother. I left music altogether when my career was blossoming and realized it wasn't really the deeply rooted thing that I wanted to do. And as a young mother, I became enamored with business, spirituality, didn't quite put them together at the time. And realizing I had always been intuitive, my dreams were extremely prophetic. That's actually how I knew I was going to marry my husband. But I never really applied this to whatever work I was doing, or I was unconsciously applying it. And several iterations later in business, from running a thriving e-commerce store, then I found I was naturally coaching spiritual coaches and mentors in business. And this is where the bulk of my work, that's where it really, really began, in supporting individuals and supporting communities. And people were asking about my success in running businesses and communities at the time, and simultaneously being steeped in yoga and meditation and breath work, and reading many spiritual texts. And I ended up creating, it's probably at least over 30 programs and masterclasses, an entire brand that began really thriving, coaching businesses, spiritual businesses and mentors. And I started putting these elements together for energetics in business. And this is where things get really interesting in the most disruptive way. That's where everything literally fell apart. And I stopped it all and I burned it down and I reemerged. But I will leave that for the next section of my story. So that's where I began.
Beautiful. Sorry, I had a little bit of a second troubling trying to unmute my mic. But thank you very, very much, Mrs. Avlunov. Really, really appreciate it. Fantastic as always. Next up, Mrs. Olya Alexic. Would you mind taking the stage for us?
Ooh, of course not. Thank you for introducing Lauren before me, because she kind of answered part of the question on my behalf. And for today, I actually prepared some excerpts from my kind of memoirs or something, but it's basically a repository of my stories from my childhood and later adulthood, and how those stories are related into what I do today and what I plan to do in future. So yeah, I have a bunch of stories. I chose a couple of those to read here in front of you, because reading for me is sometimes way easier than going deep into the emotional aspect. So here it is. Dalton, feel free to cut me off when the time is on its limit. So
Not a problem.
deal. Okay, guys, so grab your glasses of water or whatever. The first one is the cooking pot story, and it goes like this. One of my earliest memories is visiting my grandparents' small, modest apartment. I noticed even as a child that there were no family photos, not of my grandparents, not even of my mother's as a child. I would ask them about it, and they would explain that everything they once had, every photograph, every personal belonging, had burned when their home was set aflame during the war in the former Yugoslavia in the early 90s. Almost everything was lost, except one, slightly burnt cooking pot, you guessed it. To my grandmother, that pot symbolized survival and resilience, as well as loss and rebirth. Her home was always a safe haven, overcrowded yet somehow spacious enough for everyone who needed a new beginning. Refugees, families with nowhere to go, all found shelter here. My grandmother was resourceful in ways that defy convention. She was the first woman in her small town to drive a car, for example. And later, when life got tough, she found ways to make both money and bread in a bustling city when others were paralyzed by circumstances. That pot, so ordinary yet indestructible as it turned out, lives in my mind as a legacy of resilience as much as a legacy of my grandmother herself. So that was one story, and it will be very clear how that relates to my leadership style and work later. I don't know if you have time for another story.
We do.
We do. Okay. The impossible choice story. When I was 11, life suddenly became a series of impossible choices. My parents had just divorced only a few months after the bombing of Serbia began. Our lives, which had barely started to recover from the previous war, were thrown back into turmoil. Air raid sirens became part of the daily routine, scarcity felt like the new norm, and sheltering in basements was the closest things to safety. One day, I remember hearing the news of a young girl who was struck by a bomb while sitting on her potty. That single detail shattered my sense of childhood innocence, or leftovers of that. Amid this, my mother was forced to consider an excruciating decision. Should she bring my sister, who was living with our grandparents because my mother was working two shifts to keep us afloat, to stay with us so we could all be together no matter what? Or should we stay separated to increase the chance that at least one of us might survive? She discussed this decision with me as though I was 11. I could understand the gravity of such a decision. I had to grow up fast. Now, when I work with leaders and decision makers, I know that the ability to navigate these choices isn't just a skill, sometimes it's a matter of survival. So that was another one. And I have one nicer. It's a little bit more positive. Across,
Let's do it.
okay, a cross section of a warm story. In fifth grade, I entered a literary competition with an essay titled A Cross Section of a Worm. The essay was critique of the educational system, questioning how my future could be determined by how well I could interpret facts about a worm's anatomy. All the while, next to me sat a girl with no shoes, invisible to everyone but me, just like the unspoken struggles each of us carried. We were in a classroom full of children raised in a decade filled with wars, each of us carrying unseen scars. When my teacher announced that I would won second place on this competition, she quietly confided that my essay could be awarded first place because it criticized the very system that was judging it. I was both proud but more bitter, as you can assume, realizing even then that voices calling for change aren't always rewarded. And yes, I have a lot of like stories, little stories like this, and I don't think that even one of them is more impactful than another. So I think if you end up meeting me on the street or whatever context, whatever story I tell you, um, it's going to have the same significance, if that makes sense. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to actually share things that I've actually never shared. So this is my first time. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Very brave and very beautiful as well. Inspiring, some would
Thank
say.
you.
Amazing. This is Ilonka. Would you like to take it away for us?
Yes, my turn, huh? Okay.
Yes, indeed.
So I think my story also kind of like Olya, and I think all of us, it goes back to when I was a young girl. I I I noticed, to me, like I thought everybody was like me. I would talk to my animals, talk, so I wouldn't speak, but they knew we had good conversations going. Talk to my plants, and I always felt connected more than more through the physical, but through vibrational energy in silence. I loved being in nature, and children would always, when they came over, everybody would run to my room because that was the happy place to be. I remember one day my parents bought me a desk so I could go to school and do my homework there. And much to their chagrin, I actually never set foot on that desk, and I built my own platform in a guava tree in the garden. And that's where I did my homework, played my guitar, and Tora hadn't heard the sounds of this particular song yet, but I think I was jamming these songs across time, space, and dimension, and that was where I was happiest. And all that changed when I went into the schooling system. I remember that I actually on my first day of kindergarten, I refused to go back because I said there's way too many people there. And my parents just could not get me into the car. I mean, would literally fight. And so I skipped a year of kindergarten, but eventually I had to go to school. And that's where I learned the art of fitting in, because I realized that what I thought was, normal, that it was actually weird. And I kind of closed it in and just kind of gardened it on the inside. And that was a journey of really, I say I became a master of conforming and doing really well on the outside. But on the inside, there was a rift that was just getting bigger and bigger. And at one point, it was like I saw myself walking there. People called me Ilonka, but it was like, who is she? And I knew at one point, this was in my first marriage, I knew that I needed to break free. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done, because I knew I was hurting somebody else for seemingly no reason, then to find, out who am I. But I just forged on, as I have in my whole life, and just listening to that inner voice. And that has driven my journey. It took me all the way into my professional life, where seemingly again looking to see at what do others do to create success, and I followed that pathway, but all the while learning a lot of wisdom, because I would see that things would happen. Like, for example, I met the first book, the book that really shifted it all for me was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People from Dr. Stephen Covey, and was telling to my friend, oh my God, I would love to become a teacher and help others to become, to find their voice, because he really took it from the human center, and not just, so it was business, but it was starting from the human. And that just resonated with me. And my friend goes like, oh, I know the person here that, carries the license, and so on. So synchronicities happening, that laid the foundation for me. But even then, at a certain point, I was in businesses. Some of the challenges I was facing is that the status quo, fighting back, instead. So I would think that people would embrace this, because we're bringing new ideas. Sometimes it would be ideas that they were thinking in their heart. And then when we went and did this, I would be like, why is everybody so angry? Isn't this what we all want? They said they did, but then, when the powers of be, the system started fighting back. And so I would create what I call circles of excellence, pockets of excellence, that we, in the big organization that was full of toxic organization cultures, we would create a small system where the people, the employees, the teachers, they never had a problem. It was usually the leadership that it was that sense of, oh my goodness, it makes me look less than, and which was never the intention. And so that path repeated itself, and I came to a point that I knew I have, because I would always reach a glass ceiling somewhere. Somebody would put, kind of clip my wings until I decided that, okay. And life helped me decide also that it was time to start creating and allowing that what was bubbling inside to come out. And that is connected to where I'm at right now, which is Aruba. That I'll do that the last one, and then my segment I'll save the rest also, like Lauren and Olya, for the next round. But when I came, I was living 20 years in the US, you know, and when I said that I'm going back to my mom's island, everybody looked at me. Are you absolutely out of your mind? Everybody's trying to come in, and you are going back. I said, and they asked why. I said, I can't answer why, but I know I have to go. And so that said, that opened up me, you know, walking on the beach, the quiet beaches, and on the sand, bare feet, feeling the energy of the earth again, the wind, the ocean. That just kind of started cleansing my soul, and that's where the wisdom started flowing. And the rest I'll leave for the next next version. But that was the start of my awakening process.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ilonka. Really appreciate that. All right. Now that we'd heard from the ladies, let's move on to the amazing gentleman we have here. Mr. Ivan Nikolov, would you like to start us off there?
Let's do it.
Fantastic.
Hello, everybody. You gave us the questions a couple of days ago, and my brain wanted to go and try to answer them and plan. And knowing what I know about past, present, and future, I realized, well, it's if I don't come authentically here and access my past from the perspective of the present, which is that's the only place where we access the past from. It's always a present memory of what we call the past. Then it's not going to be authentic. And I also, as you were sharing, and it was all interesting and nice, I felt my brain wanted to go and check, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? And I kept bringing it back because, again, it's not authentic. And so I know my story, but let's see, do I know my story? I was born and raised in Bulgaria. It was a communist country back then. I was almost 16 when things shifted towards democracy, or what it looked like democracy in the beginning, but it was the mob grabbing things around. The significant part of my earliest journey is that in communism, we were all brainwashed and conditioned to be followers and to not think for ourselves, to not be free thinkers. In fact, when I was in 9th grade, I knew where I was going to work for the next 5 years in a telephone factory, making actual telephones, you know, the old stuff that we don't use anymore. And then things changed. So that shaped me in a way. And also, I am very blessed to have had and to still have parents who shaped me by way of introducing their own trauma on me, especially my father, who was dismissive of me. He was not somebody who would pay attention to me. He would engage with my sister, but not with me. So early on, I decided that I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy of his attention and love, and that something is wrong with me. And I carried that for another 40 some years until I realized what's going on. And I say I'm blessed with that because the reason who I am today and how I show up in the world and what I do and how I do it is because of this. And this is my treasure. Just like I appreciate each one of you and your treasures by way of being wounded and scarred, whether these scars are visible or invisible, like Olya said. This is what shapes us, and I have deep appreciation of that. But the geographical journey, when I was 28, I immigrated into the United States. That was another miracle. Eventually, I never felt like I fit in my country. I felt different. When I was a child, I just felt different. Later on, in my teenage years and early 20s, I felt different in a different way. It was more like, I'm messed up. Something's wrong with me. Not just different. I'm messed up. And so I started going around the world. The next 16 years, I was in the United States. Eventually, I married a Bulgarian girl who came to me in the United States, and we were married for 13 years. I continued to be very lost and be very much influenced by the hunger to express myself. But I was also indoctrinated now by the Western ideology of chasing the material stuff and fame and reputation and status and all of these things. And that never fulfilled me, and it never allowed me to find myself. And I never realized it, and I kept looking outside of me, and I kept running into frustration and disappointment and depressions and so on. In the meantime, in one of my lives, I was a competitive natural bodybuilder. That's how I expressed myself. I was a fitness trainer. Then I became a coach, because even in my fitness training, I realized that I'm doing more of a mindset work than I was doing physical work with clients, because that's always where the challenges are in the identity. But that's one of my past lives. Another one is I had a bakery, so I learned how to bake. I had a physical bakery and a storefront and a coffee shop and all these things. And of course, I sabotaged that as well because of my inadequacies and insufficiencies and learned limitations that I didn't know at the time. I was also a handgun instructor. I learned how to shoot. I was very good at that. Eventually, I became an instructor teaching other people how to shoot and even get their license in Texas. All kinds of different ways of expressing, let's say. But eventually, my marriage ended after 13 years, and then I thought I was going to go to Europe for a couple of months and reset and come back to the United States. That was in 2018. I never went back to the United States. That's 6.5 years since then. My journey took me all the way to Malaysia, where I worked for an amazing company, and I met my second partner, who was European. She came back to Europe at the times of COVID, so she couldn't come back to Malaysia anymore. And I chose to come back to Europe as well. We settled in Spain, and I'm still in Spain. We had a beautiful child. We're no longer a couple, but we had a beautiful child, and we co-parent in beautiful harmony right now. And I guess I'll finish with this. The geographic movement is quite a bit, but all of it is reflecting an inner journey, a journey of looking around the world to find my missing parts. And it took somebody, a mentor 2 years ago, to bring it home for me, not on a mental and knowledge level, but on a heart level, that there is nothing wrong with me. And he said that in front of 400 of us on a group call. And he said, the reason why I'm so effective with the people I help is because I start with one truth. There is nothing wrong with anybody, and that includes you. And that was a big moment for me. And so that has influenced the latest part of my expression, which will bring us to the present. And I'm going to pause here to give a chance to the rest of us.
Thank you so much, Ivan, for that. Truly remarkable. Fantastic. Let's move on to Mr. Ernie Errol Pinas. How are you, sir? Oh, you're muted. There we go.
I really enjoy all the stories, and there is a silver lining in all of them. And I can relate with a lot of the stories from Lauren the variety, the things that she did in her life, and also. I start with también. I want to switch to Spanish because I had a journey that goes from several continents, and sometimes I mix languages. But let me start to say that also the story of Ilonka, we have more or less similar. The way we grew up is more or less similarly, and I also enjoy the story we just heard about traveling the world, and from Ivan. What happened with me is I started in South America. I was one of the youngest sibling out of an engineering family, a huge family. We had 12 siblings, and I was one of the youngest. And I was lucky enough that actually I was born in a university, a technical university. My dad was an engineer, and my brothers had their own businesses already, doing appliances, technical installations, and so on. So my toys were not the usual toys that boys used to have. My toys were the machines of my brothers, and I was running into their machines, their factories, and a lot of young boys, when they are 6, 7, 8 years, they are playing football, doing other things. But I was with my brothers, overhauling machines, opening compressors from HVAC systems and those kind of things. So, and I was lucky because as I was the youngest, I would get, my dad and my brothers were grooming me. So actually, I finished my first university, practical university, when I was only 10 or 12 years. I was doing things that later my schoolmates in the university were learning. I was doing them at home back then. So, making a long story short, I went to Europe. I got some degrees in engineering, marketing, and so on and so on. And I came back. And there's one thing that shaped me. That is what my dad instilled in me. Everything is possible. Everything is possible. And don't accept no for an answer. So I don't know the word failure. It does not exist. Failure is only preparation of being successful in a later phase. So there's no such thing called failure. So when I was young, I was the child in the family who has a lot of problems with health and so on, fevers all the time. And they took me outside the city to spend a lot of time in nature. That's what helped me. And from there, I grew up as a healthy guy. And when I came back, I started working in engineering. And I was working totally different like all the other engineers because they are working from the rational brain, but I'm not. I'm using more than my rational brain, my intuition. And they used to call me as well the building whisperer because I don't go and look at buildings. I try to communicate with the building. As Ilonka was communicating with her plants, I was communicating with buildings and with my environment. So everything has vibration in life. So does buildings. So does a book. So does your table that you're working on. So if you can understand and put those vibrations in line, you can solve any problem. So what made me do what I'm doing now? Because I've learned that everything is possible. So when I was growing up, I was probably about 8 years. Then I make a sketch of a window. And you know what I saw? I saw on the one side of the window, those countries with all the raw materials in Africa, in South America, and so on and so on. And what was happening through that window, I was watching all the raw material going to Europe and the US, and they make end products and shipping them back to those countries they came from. So all this polluting logistic channel, as a young kid, it was disturbing me. And then I came to the idea that we need to produce locally. So that's what shifted me to what I'm doing now. Making things green, sustainable and production. And from there on, I worked in several companies and I was blowing the ROIs and the profit margins out of the pan. Hundreds of percentage of ROIs and getting money back within 6 to 1 month to 1 year of an investment of a factory, unheard of. But I was not the rational engineer, but a holistic engineer who used all the senses to function at a level that's a couple of times higher than the normal engineer. That's why I'm different than a lot of them. I want to pause now.
Thank you so much, sir. Very technical and inspiring as well as a young adult. I now throw it over to Mr. Tour Sepola.
Thank you, thank you. I have had so many stories listening to you guys going into your story, just as Ivan, and just my brain has been all over the place. But I really never saw my past as something that was significant. I thought I was just like everyone else. Turns out I was not. So I came from a place of going the normal route, and then my body said, you're not supposed to go the normal route. So I went through a lot of different challenges in terms of my health, which I couldn't really do anything about. I learned the art of surrendering, and through this, I started to see reality a lot different than what I had previously. Because with every paradigm shift, with every foundational rocking of reality, I had to accept new realities, and I had to let go of different things that I knew from before. And I don't know. I always thought that, on the other end, it was going to be this thing that I could picture. It's going to be awesome right there. As soon as I'm healthy, it's going to be. But turns out when you have gone through things and you are forced to basically expand consciousness, expand how one sees reality, expand opportunities, and expand what you previously learned about what reality was. I had a very physical and in-person experience that I couldn't learn from anyone else. So my life was very much impacted by play, by recklessness, by the non-consequential thoughts of a youth, and different ways that these events just continued to take me down a path. And all of these different things, seeing from now, has made me who I am today. I went through pain, and I went through the criminal route, and I went through the health. And just as Ernie, I kind of learned that mindset that anything is possible because I was forced to. And now I'm very much like able to stay in the now. Even when everything is storming around, I'm able to just sit there in the storm and drink my coffee, all calm like, just I'm gonna put that fire out later, you know? But it took so much experience. And now I'm kind of scared of thinking, what is next? So I'm thinking, let's just make the best of it and just try to keep that mindset, knowing that in the storms there's going to be a clearing, and then on the other side there's nothing that one can't really conceptualize it. So I came from a very normal background. I became very skilled at adaptation, and I was very inspired by adventure and play. And as I've basically made my whole business sharing stories and tales of transformation, it's hard to tell the story now from the past, because at some point it just basically became this goo of where I came from, but far from the mold that is shaping me for the future. So it's interesting. And then sitting here listening to you guys, it inspires me, it motivates me, it gives me new clarity and insights that I wasn't prepared for like 30 minutes ago. So I really want to thank you for that as well. And I'm going to pause because my past from where I came is so bland compared to where we're going that it's just going to be a very new journey, and everything seems to just take on that effect. I'm sorry for being a little bit like all over the place right now. I just have to go in and see what the internal communication behind here is, because we might have a technical issue in approach, which is also why I'm saying this. We might lose a person. There we go. All right, yeah, we're gonna make sure. I think that's all I can say about my past. That my whole past and everything has been shared to such a degree where I'm kind of worried in this current time where we have everything online and you can clone people and everything. I've shared everything that I can come up with, and because of that, I am a changed person. So because of that, also, I want to just really respect the people who have shared their story so far, because when you share things that you haven't really shared before or just go into who you are, it's insane what could really come from that. So my honor and my hat is tipped to all of you. Sorry for the rant there. I'm leaving it back to you, Lycus. Oh, hold on. He has to lock his gates. Let's go into the next segment. And that is where you are now. Are you everyone good with the rotation we did now? Lauren, Olya, and then, yeah. Lauren, if you want to take it away for section 2 of where you are right now.
Yeah, I guess that's me.
Yes.
First of all, just want to honor everyone's journey, and also seeing that beautiful golden thread that weaves throughout all of those. So I felt very much the same as Yvonne about preparing. What should I say? There's this desire to be seen or perceived in a certain way. And so part of my own evolutionary journey is to just continually strip that away. And so if I get to the heart of this question without going on forever and ever, I want to say the work in itself has always chosen me. Like, why did I decide to do what I do, being a metaphysical advisor, mentor, specifically for visionaries and specifically for visionary men, and of course, some incredible women, but that's where it went to. And that journey was extremely disruptive, and I had to really feel deeper into this. And I think really the core of it was my own loneliness, frustration, and feeling the deep sensitivity that I had in feeling the literal ache of others. I feel in frequencies. I realize the desire to express, to connect, and to belong. And I feel like this beautiful event, one of many, is one of those spaces that you get to bring yourself. And my desire to architect my destiny, while also realizing that is a complete and utter paradox, because in the architecting, in the sovereignty, in the choosing, I'm also surrendering, and I'm in the unknown. I'm in the void. I have no clue. I have no control, and yet I have all the control. So there is that pattern of throughout my life of always being never fitting in, right? Being the weird one, of course, being bullied, and continually to just be my weird self through my life, and feeling the frequency of truth that I realized not everyone, like other people, didn't see what I saw. And the moment I realized that, there was a recognition of power and also a recognition of loneliness, and realizing that I was the disruptor. Like Ilanka was saying, we come out with the truth or something innovative, and we think that this is what people want, and then you say it, and then people crumble or people react or whatever that experience is. As we've all, I think, in some way, shape, or form, are innovators and disruptors. And I grew up in New York. I'm currently living in Florida. I've moved around a bit, but most of my life was spent living in New York. And, where most of the kids were skateboarding outside the window, there I am reading, writing poetry, sketching, trying to teach myself meditation, exploring, all of these different ways of looking at and experiencing reality, and moving through my life in a very multidimensional way, and never really feeling, honestly, part of anything, like part of a collective. So I can see this thread that's going through everyone. And really, for me, there just had to be a point. There was always a breaking point. For me, it was always a chaos point, right? A catalyst where I had to look at my own shadows. I had to stop denying my own power and my gifts. I had to boldly step forward in ways that I hadn't before. And I'll go into that later, but I walked away from mainstream spirituality, and some of the iterations of my journey, things would just stop working. Like the business would stop working. I would do the same thing and it was dead. It was like energetically dead. And so in my world, nothing lives if it's energetically dead. And so tapping into that creative aspect. And one of the deepest catalysts for me was when my daughter had a terrifying episode that led to a diagnosis of PANS, which is essentially an autoimmune encephalitis. So for me, the walls shattered around me because I could not be a little good spiritual girl. I couldn't wake up at 4 a.m. and meditate. I could not have high vibe thoughts. I didn't have time to sit around managing my thoughts and, working out every unconscious thing and being in, self-analysis all the time. What used to work for me stopped working. And this was at a time where I was actually working with clients, teaching them these things, getting extraordinary results for them, but yet I knew there was more. And so in my own chaos, the limitations of traditional spiritual frameworks, mindset work, I saw were keeping myself and high achievers in this cycle of self-improvement. Also, back to Yvonne of like, there's nothing wrong with you. Wait, what if self-improvement? What if we actually don't need to improve ourselves? But of course, we are always on that journey of evolution, right? So there was this paradox I was trying to figure out at that time, and, really wanting to unlock that true untamed power. And all the tools I had relied on were just not the solution anymore. So when it came down to it, I had to unlock my own alchemy in that moment. In utter chaos and probably the lowest time of my life is when I actually chose my highest path, what I'm doing right now. And what I didn't really notice at the time, of course, hindsight, but this would be the revealing of my own Black Diamond process that I learned in darkness, in the unknown, in certainly not being high vibrational and certainly not trying to match anyone else's frequency. I had to really go to illuminate my own shadows where I had been holding back, where I had been lacking my own energetic precision and sovereignty, and where I had been diminishing. So this was really about bringing that self truth. And I realized that unusually, that's how I actually hypersped. I was creating things in sometimes hours or weeks when it would take others months or years. And I was applying this to my clients. And this led me to literally burn an entire business. And that opened up a new one to supporting visionaries craft their destiny legacy as I really desire to. I'll say master energetics, but also with the understanding that there never is full mastery, and becoming the true messenger of the work in the world fully expressed. So I went from large communities of thousands to literally zero. And so that was when, for me, unleashing my own energetic work, my own prima materia activations. And I began with my unique perspective and energy, and essentially just left mainstream spirituality to craft what I'm doing today. And that for me was a mixture of being in chaos and allowing that to be okay, the raw messiness of my humanity, instead of trying to sterilize it with with a mainstream outlook of high vibing it. So no more sterilization. And I'll leave this one last bit, is always thinking about it as the nourishment of soil. There is decomposition, there is death, there is rebirth. There are many aspects to that process. And if we separate them, if we sterilize them, if we, remove all the good bacteria from our guts, it is literal death. It is diminishment. It affects our vitality. So if I express anything today, all of this coming from just allowing that permission of my own humanity, permission for others to create in this way and find their own ways to nourish their soil so that they can expand in the way that they're here to expand in the world.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Really appreciate that. How about we go and randomize the order a little bit? Ilonka, would you mind taking the stage?
Thank you for that. Big shoes to follow, Lauren. So, but many like you, like all of us, there's so many connections and alignments, and in a similar way, I had to lose everything, literally, lost my home country, lost all the bank accounts, lost home. Sometimes it wasn't, because of me, it was helping someone else that were, my dad having severe dementia, and through that process. So I learned through that, that even while I always remember a good friend, when I went through my divorce, she said to me, which is it's a common something people say. I think it's also somewhere biblical, this too shall pass. And it became bigger for me, because going through the loss and the pain and absolutely losing everything that, I could say this is my safety zone, allowed me to know and to see that life is kind of like the stock market. And yes, there crashes and there's goes up, but when you kind of look back in a reflective way, I always say to my clients, it's a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't be living your life with your past. And I say, definitely, I agree with that. But it is important for us to look with reflective eyes and take the lessons learned and take that and leave that what does not serve us anymore, clear that, cleanse that, and see the silver lining and the lessons that got you, and put those in your backpack and take that along on the journey, so that it's a light journey and not one that weighs you down. And that's what I have found, that through the journey, actually, the wisdom came. And I remember Tor worked with me on we met each other, and I think all of us in here, in very beautiful synchronistic ways. And I remember Tor was helping me create the logo for the new vision, which was the Nautilus, which represented, it was anchored in also my awakening process, where once I went through the transformation, I got to this point and said, okay, Ilonka, you've gotten rid of all the junk, all that inner gut thinking little of yourself, thinking you're not good enough, that, you need to have more. I would see, sometimes I would look and it's like, Ilonka, what you have is like 1,000,000 times better than others, and you still think that you're not ready. And they're crushing it, So I was like, what's wrong with you? But it was through that process that I realized that once I got through the transformation, I thought, okay, now I'm ready to share with the world, my biggest self, this beautiful wisdom. It actually took me 13 more years to really sink into my true essence. And that's where frameworks came, that I now know that's why I was born for this, so that when my eyes close during this lifetime, there will be frameworks that will continue to inspire others. And that is the Nautilus that we worked on, Tor. And Tor, I'll share the story in just a bit, but that once we go through transformation, there is actually a phase beyond personal development, where we go into quantum expansion and soul alignment or soul mastery, because that is our truest essence. And that took another, because there were no models for that. I was like kind of Lauren, you said it too. I was like kind of swimming in my own pond, what works and what doesn't, and so, but it's, and I love what you say is allowing that, all of it, the pain, the inspiration, the not knowing, to be okay, not even to be okay, but to start celebrating that, in that moment. Tori, you said it too. While things seem to the world very chaotic, because I remember, like, sometimes even my family would say, "Ilonka, but what are you going to do?" And I was like, I can't tell you right now, but I know it's okay. I know where I'm going, and so I would, sometimes I would kind of shelter myself and, live on an island where I didn't have to answer all these questions, which I didn't know the answer of at that time. So now it comes back to the story of the Nautilus, where the framework that came is that through transformation, there is this huge opportunity for us, for our humanity, to shift where pain is now the driving force. Ivan, I mean, I commend you for sharing your story, especially for men, because the men in our lives have been brought up to think that they must be the strong ones in there, and now we're giving that freedom that, it's okay that we are, when we're feeling, scared or at the moment. And so I really commend you for doing that, because you really give permission to others to truly be themselves. And so, and then after that, once we learn to shift the pain and let inspiration be the driving force, now that was also a poem that came, The Circle of Life. It's the circle breaks open, and here comes this beautiful Nautilus that just keeps going. It just keeps expanding. And that's where Tor, where you come in, where I gave him the ideas. I said what I was seeing. I even showed him a picture of what I'm seeing. And then it was silence on the other end. And then he blurted at one time through WhatsApp. He said, "Ilonka, what did you do to me? You're asking me to create something from perfection. How can I create, perfection?" So, but you did an amazing job. So, and which really exemplified the journey of us as human beings, where once we go through that personal transformation, that that's where the door opens up for us to elevate into our greatness. And that's kind of that's where I'm at right now, at where I'm really choosing to I finally wrote it all in a book because I had trouble telling my message. I would, I hated when we had to do the 90-second pitch. I would cringe. My stomach would, but it was like, how can I share what I need to share in 90 seconds? And it took me years to learn how to do that. And I finally was like, okay, it's got to be going into a book. And then once people have read that, then it's easier to share the message in a way that flows. And so the Quantum Rebel is really born to inspire all of us, to unleash that visionary voice within, to give it permission to not only speak softly, but to really sing. Tor, I absolutely loved your song. I was like, you probably saw it, but it allows us to just be and to just step into our fullness, as body, mind, heart, and soul. And I have come full circle where I realized that my work needed to go into business, where in the boardrooms, we are now, we are at a phase in our humanity's evolution where we're creating new visionary business people, change makers. It could be in social change, it could be in sports, in any field where we're together co-creating the new systems and structures that are no longer anchored in scarcity. You know, it's either or. We have to choose between purpose or success or achievement versus balance. And what I learned, the message from Quantum Brothers, it's actually through that balance and harmony is where we become our biggest self, and where we can allow. Ernie, I hope you tell them the story of how you innovate. I won't give it away, but where we allow these things to come through us. And that can't be done when we're in stress, when we're rushing, when we're, like, this needs to be done, that. So we're not letting go of the KPIs and those things, but we're allowing a more expansive way of being. And my message is that I'm passionate about it. It's not only in work or life, it's actually in life, leadership, and in business. Because we show up wherever we go, if it's in our own business, if it's somebody else's business, if it's in a nonprofit, if it's a mom, where that's how you show up, you are creating the next generation and you're a stay-at-home mom. We show up with our full self. And that is my inspiration to really awaken in all of us that visionary voice and allow that to come through.
Thank you so much for that. I think South Africa might be having some power issues.
It's nice when we hear you and like us.
Yeah, a little mix and match. So now we are on a randomized thing here. Should we go for Ivan? Do you want to go for the present? Thank you so much for sharing, by the way, Ilonka. That was amazing, and I felt like I have so much I want to say.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm listening to those of you who have shared already. I know how I feel. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I know my inner experience. And I also have talked to quite a few people. Several years ago, I committed to gifting 1,000 coaching sessions to people around the world. And I couldn't get to 1,000 because I ran out of people who wanted to be coached for free, but I coached 305 times. And so I spoke with people from around the world, and my clients before that, after that, your stories, my 50 years of being around. It's just magical. And it begs all these deeper questions. What is the world we live in? That's the world of appearances, but then everybody has their deeper journey, and whatever they're going through for one reason and one reason only: to find their way back home, to strip the layers, and there's nowhere to get to but back to yourself. And I can appreciate your journeys and sharing that, and that is my journey as well. So the latest iteration is something that I have been invited to notice and take on for decades, but I never did. And that was to stop forcing my agenda on life, to stop pretending that I know how things should be, how exactly things should happen, and to stop controlling in this way, and to begin allowing for the admission that I don't know. And in not knowing, I do know, but that's the surrendering part. And by the way, every time I have the misleading thought, I've surrendered, I find out that I'm still controlling at a deeper level, and there is more to be shed. So it's a beautiful journey, a hero's journey, just like all of us are on. But I have been invited to consider a new way of coexisting with this infinite intelligence that's giving manifestation of all of us. That's been beautifully expressed by so many ancient ideologies. Wu Wei, for example, the Zen ideology of non-effort and non-forcing. My life has been such that I decide what I want, and I insist on that happening exactly how I want, or as close as possible. And I was sharing that with a friend who's also a psychologist and a coach some time ago, and he said, you have to see this. The way you've been operating is you get close to a wall and you say, I'm going to open a door here. And there's no door there. And your forehead is bleeding, your fists are bleeding, your body's bleeding, and you keep insisting on opening a door where there is no door. But the door is a few feet away from you. You just don't see it because you're so bent on resisting life. And so that's what's been happening lately, and it's been a beautiful journey. And also another part of the journey is finding my way home, no matter where I am in the world. I used to have a little bit of resistance. I'll change that. More resistance to being in Spain, because I had all these stories of where I should be and where it's best for me to express. And of course, all of these are limitations, but they manifest if that's the thought or the belief and the thought that I'm holding. And so now my home is where my son is. My son is in Spain. I have a 2.5-year-old boy, and that's where he is. That's where I am, and that's where home is. And I have just about zero resistance to where I am, and that's peace. As far as how I express professionally, it's a reflection of my own journey. I help nonconformist overachievers who are navigating midlife burnout and crisis, who want to seek and discover new ways of self-awareness, freedom, fulfillment, inner peace, and a new direction of life. There comes a moment for many of us, not all, but many of us, especially those who have always known that we were born for something more, for something bigger. And we were on this journey of achievement, of material accumulation and possessions, of status. We were playing this game, but there comes a moment where the old identity just begins to die, and with it all the old values, the old beliefs, and the whole structure on which a person used to make decisions begins to crumble. And there's nothing that's showing up to replace that. And it seems like a dark tunnel with no lights whatsoever. But that's the invitation for a new emergence, for something new that's emerging. And what this new signifies, which is not known to the person when they're amidst of it, is taking their power back from being externally validated to being internally validated, completely moving into a new set of values that represent what they truly appreciate, love, and what's truly authentic to them, their true authentic path, their true authentic values, and expressing from that perspective, and living the rest of their lives fully owning their power. So this is what I do presently, and this is how I express presently. But again, all of it is a reflection of my own journey. And this is, I believe, what we all do. Why we all do what we do. It's because we are on our own path of healing, which at one point becomes an inaccurate term to use, because there is no need for healing, because there is perfection on the inside. It's just removing the sludge, the layers, the mud that's covering it, with all the appreciation for that, because in who we are who we are today because of all of this. That's why I'm appreciating all the trauma and all the limitation and all the learned inadequacies and insecurities that I learned, and whatever I brought from past life experiences with me. All of this is serving to shape me into who I am today, and maybe come up with a little bit of, or access a little bit of wisdom, and see something others are not seeing at the time in their journey, and supporting them in moving on the other side of the bridge. That's it.
Thank you very much, brother. Truthfully, thank you. That comes from the heart. Mrs. Alexic, should we throw it over to you now?
Okay. I have to say, it's rather hard, being participating in this conversation. I immerse myself so much in your stories. And last week, when Lauren and I were hosting event, we experienced the same thing, Tor, that you are experiencing right now. So it's just so many relatable things, and it's so amazing how we get to live all these seemingly different lives and come up to same conclusions, and more importantly, it gears us towards same direction and same impact. So that's kind of really just appreciation for the forum right here. Yeah, so many things you've mentioned already. Ernie said that he was communicating with buildings, leaning onto Ilonka's communication with nature. I would say that I've been in communication with ancient philosophers, probably. Because that was like, you've heard a little snippets from my early childhood. What was bothering me the most at the time was that there is no alternative for me. So like this life in either war or, war-torn country is these are the options, right? So scarcity, fear, lack, survival basics. I was really struggling with it within that climate. I was thinking, like, is this it? Like, is this, basic questions, why are we here and why is this happening? And it was really difficult for me to understand, to have anything to help me to ground, I would say. And that's where sudden and completely unexpected, and what seems random, but we all know that there is no random things, discovery of this particular tiny department within Philological Gymnasium here in Belgrade, which is dedicated to studying ancient, specifically Latin and ancient Greek studies. Within that, mythology predominantly, and languages, of course. This discovery was for me like mind-blowing. I loved books, I loved reading, immersing myself into all sorts of, realms through the books. I was looking for, other worlds apart from this. That was my reality, not super cool. I was looking for alternatives, right? And the idea that I can, learn, and I was like 13, 14 years when I needed to start my, my preparation to enroll into the school. And then I realized, oh my gosh, like the mythology and philosophical wisdom and thought development of Asian world is an attempt of understanding and interpreting and kind of, explaining the world to my, like beaten body and, crushed soul and completely, complete devastation on emotional level. This was like a healing, like just the idea that I can do that in this part of the world when, heavily sanctioned, so no exposure to anything but, this climate. It was really mind-blowing. And this was my alternative. So a few years back, I found this quote by Lyle Mace, who was a jazz innovator, Grammy awarded, etc., but innovator, pioneer in his soul. And he allegedly said, it's not confirmed, but I like it, to offer the world a better alternative is the purest form of protest. And since I've been a rebel my entire life, right, this resonated highly with me. And I realized that this is what I've been doing, for my entire life, searching for alternatives. And my high school was alternative to, my reality. And then, later studying Greek language and literature, also alternative. And of course, when I entered the corporate world, Ilonka, you explained it so well. So the resistance toward any new modalities, any new direction is so heavy. And I realized while I was climbing that corporate ladder that in my leadership roles, I had more benefit from my previous educational background than from corporate trainings. So training industry, leadership development industry, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, there must be a better alternative again, right? And that's how I decided to have my own company, which is named Sappho Groove Initiative. Sappho is ancient poetess, rebel, pioneer, innovator, quantum rebel, perhaps, Ilonka. Yes. And her voice just, travels through eons. And I believe that her voice was the one I'm communicating with the most. So today I was jumping through, time moments, but I'm sure you can all kind of connect the dots. So today I'm really dedicated to creating this better alternative, better to traditional, conventional leadership development. It is really at the heart of my work, this more sophisticated approach, which is nuanced, future forward, progressive, wholesome, integrated, dynamic, multidimensional, and it's definitely not fixed into certain modalities. So today, when you want to learn something about leadership, you have to Google or buy a book that answers like how to motivate a team, how to strategize, how to deal with low performers, how to, create talent management, pipeline. But the thing is, there is a new program I've been launching this year, which is called Leadership Miniatures, where I take real life leadership situations and analyze them. I want to show how similar or same situations have completely different solutions based on capacity, context, environment, and all other things. So this is my work in the past few years and kind of synthesis in this year, I would say. I draw a lot of inspiration from, to go back to high school, Stoicism. That was really important discovery for me. I think there were really progressive aspects, especially when it comes to ethics. Not so much when it comes to female leadership, but that's in the future, what we are going to offer another alternative together, hopefully. And yes, I would conclude this with just a simple reflection that today, with this fact that we have to consider leadership in the context of this artificial and human intelligence collaboration and co-creation, we also have responsibility to build those better alternatives, which will always come from multidisciplinary sources, and never from, just one angle. Anyways, back to Lycos. Thank you.
very much, Olya. Very informative as well. Ernie, let's go over to you. Who are you now, and what are you doing to change the world? You are muted, sir.
Yep.
There we
Thank
go.
you. So I'm the last, so I can talk for 3 hours now, right now? Okay, let me start by saying I can see a lot of similarities in what the others bring to the table, but in their line of business and what they are doing. But in life, we see a lot of similarities. And I love what Ivan just expressed. The only thing that as an engineer, sometimes I have to go the straight way and the logic way, and sometimes the intuition comes in. A lot of time the intuition comes in. But one person that I need to reflect on what she said is Ilonka. Why? Ilonka mentioned the losses. She mentioned the pain. A lot of people are talking about losses and pain, but they do not understand how deep it can be, that it can ruin your whole life, and it can even be life-threatening. Ilonka mentioned the most soft part of the losses, the financial losses. Those were direct losses of millions, indirect business losses of multiple millions, not 10, not 15, much more than that. But the biggest loss is that people threaten you with your life, and you are not able to move and do things what you want. And because of greed, you didn't do business with them because of greed, because what you have, they want to have that, and they're going to do everything to take that. But one big thing, Ilonka does not lose the most important thing. That's herself. I did not lose the most important thing. That's myself. Because what we came here to do in this world is much bigger than a couple of millions, much bigger than that. So even what you lose is not important. Where you are now is not important. Where you are going to, what is the plan to go there? Okay, why I'm telling you this? Because I get it from the master, my dad. Let me go back a couple of years. When I started, I know one thing. Because my dad told me that everything is possible. Everything is possible. So I know one thing I want to make more money than my dad. So because he told me everything is possible, I'm going to start and make more money than he's making. I didn't know what my dad was making, but I know one thing. I want to be the best in the room. I want to be the person with the answers in the room. And that's what followed me my whole life. If people are walking a straight line, I'm not, because the straight line going to give me straight result. So what I'm doing, I'm engineering a way. As a kid, I had that. Find a way to do things different and get a result that is 10 times better than the other guys. So that is what catapulted me in my whole life to a leader position. A lot of times I didn't came in as a leader, but I came in, and within a couple of months, years, I became the director. And that was often been within 1 year, a lot of time. But a lot of times people use the wrong KPIs. And that is something that can disturb people and give you a view that is misleading. For example, I'm going to give a small example. If you talk to coaches and trainers, they're talking about the amount of people they train and coach. Is that a good measurement? No, that's the wrong measure. The good measure should be the people I coach, not how much money I make, how many of them are successful, how I change this world, what is my impact. And that is where we need to see things differently. So let me go back to let's say my business life. I started with doing things different because of the inputs I was getting. Ilonka mentioned something. I see not my intelligence, but I see that my intelligence or our intelligence is coupled to the universal intelligence. And if you are in line in vibration, you can tap into the universal intelligence. For example, let me take example in my situation. A lot of times I was going to bed, and between 3 and 5 o'clock, I get downloads. They could be complete new machineries, complete new solutions that nobody else knew before. But it came from the universe, and you have to be open to accept the gift, but it's not yours. The gift is passed through you to our humanity, and you have to do something with it. And all of us have these gifts, and we have to do something with it. So what happened is, in the companies I work, I created new ideas, invented things, built new machines, built new systems, and I did that for decades. And afterward, I came to realize that I had systems in place. And these systems let me be 5 times more effective than the fellow engineer, 10 times more money than the competitors. And after years, I put these practices in frameworks. Some of the frameworks are low investment, high yield, multi-directional expansion frameworks, and so I can go on. If I look at the frameworks, this is one of the results of the framework. This is what I prepared today. What do you think that is? I have in my hand here spices. Probably the value of this is between $50 and $100. I prepared it without investment, with what I have in my home. So that is the way I was making companies be 10, 20 times more effective and productive, because I re-engineer things, repurpose things, and instead of investing 10 million, I was only building complete machine lines for 300,000, 500,000, and getting the money return on investment back within a couple of months. So if you look at all these systems, I put them in systems and framework. And now, where am I now is that all these systems and all the way that I look at factories, the way that I look at businesses, I teach people and teach factories how they can be more effective and having a better relation on the work floor, and not even on the work floor, but making much more money, because people now start trusting each other. They start helping each other on the work floor. And instead of being 30, 40, 50% effective, they are delivering 2-3 times as more because they are happy. My people, I talk about my people, is the companies that I led and the factories. They were calling themselves the dream team. Why? Because they were getting better and better and better and better. Good was not enough. And I was with them shoulder to shoulder on the work floor, coaching them and not showing them from a distance what they should do. No, leading by example. And that's how the companies make millions, hundreds of millions, and so on. It's not about the money, but it's about making things better. And those systems, what I have now available and what I'm doing now is using all these systems to help shift my inventions, to help shift our planet to renewable energy, and to shift to build sustainable production economy based and powered with renewable energy. That is exactly where I'm at right now. That is what I'm offering to companies, to countries, to help them to boost the middle class and make new systems and production facilities. I want to pause
Thank
right
you
now.
very much. Thank you very much, Ernie. Tor, let's head on over to you, sir.
All right. There is one thing that I find fascinating that is always in the same. I wanted to say energy, but then I'm kind of jumping the gun as well. But it is energy, the frequencies of how all of the people here have some connection to it. And because we're at the present, I figured why not just try to make sense of this as we go? Because as I've found the last few weeks and months, it goes on for years, but last few very recent times, I've been very much affected by energies in ways that I hadn't been before. So it opened up doors to new ways of seeing the world. And as we all can agree on, I think that change is the only constant. If you don't grow, if you don't change, then you're gonna just die, and it's not a very good feeling, right? To feel like you're alone in the crowd because you're seeing something that others are not, and being tapped into something that should be taught way more sooner than what I've found in my life. So I do Norse divination now. Didn't do that before because it just tapped into this new energy, and because I'm very scientific minded. I see in terms of data and what I can kind of reproduce, and just because of this thing, it became creepy. It was too accurate. It was too statistically impossible. So it was like something there to be looked at. And now, as Ernie also says, you get these downloads, these ideas that hasn't been there before, and you feel this energy that is kind of pulling towards something that is like clear yet completely unknown. It's like I know exactly where I'm going. I know that this is the wave I'm gonna flow. I'm gonna just surf this wave, but I have no idea where this wave is going. It's quantum, so who knows if there is even land? It's just new. But the more I went into the frequencies, or the more I started to be aware of and just roll with, the more things just popped in. Is like the whole energy attracts more of the same, as within, so without. The more you had a clear thought in the present, things just happened like that. And it freaked me out. But I also think that it highlighted something that I now am focusing way more on, because I see a lack of this energy in many people around me. The muggles, as I lovingly refer to them as, because the non-magical people, everyone is magical, but as also Ivan says, there is something about not really healing, but uncovering the layers of who you are at the core, and who you are supposed to be, or who you come in as, and then you kind of forget who that is, because other people who have an idea of who you're supposed to be is trying to really, really put down their map on how to live life. I see this all the time. So how Ernie is creating completely new, sustainable and renewable energy to bring forward the human race, I also see that this is something that we have to take a stance on in terms of who we are as humans, like the energy inside of us all, to really spark that and make people aware that if you just focus on becoming more of you, and focusing on tuning into this frequency of yourself and being authentic and who you really are in this world, and how you can create something that is, I've started to go like, I love two words: unfathomable and ineffable, because they're just much, they're just unique. You might have an idea, but that it evolves, it becomes what it's almost meant to be. Sometimes I want to say, if you really tap into that frequency, you're going to create something that you couldn't really imagine. As we all hear, I know for a fact, because I've talked to you, every single one of you. So I know that you had an idea that just blossomed into some amazing legacy. And I think that for my part right now, I need to, I have this urgency to make people aware of that energy so that they can really spark it and start acting as the leader and the main character of their life and create magic that they are. I think that the world needs everyone to just create magic. And I know to a degree that is painful that the majority is not in that, because I work with people on all stages and I see that people are struggling to find themselves, and they're struggling with these consequences of trying to not live according to this energy. So right now I just walk around. This is literally it, just trying to spark that creativity and that hope and that magic and that unlimited potential in creation, and just keep flowing with it. I have so much I want to say for the next segment of what's coming, but right now it's just the energy has to be talked about, because I think we all see it in different ways, and it fascinates me to no end. I really want to also honor every single one of you who have talked about this and just making my brain really get like, it's the energy. It's the, you know, I'm taking all these notes and like how validating it is. And I'm excited. I just saw that we lost Lycus, by the way. So now it's like when we get to me, technology and everything just seems to take a spin. But that is my passion, it's my goal, it is my vision, it's my dream, it's everything, to just see what is able to be produced and created for generations to come, and also hopefully, at least in terms of my vicinity, my direct community and country, I would say, to see that we can do something about where we are at right now, because there is too much that is not being created, honestly. Before we go into the future, what you want to create, what is your ambition, and that amazing segment, I think that is going to be very expansive, as the last two has been. Where are you, everyone, on time right now? Because we are right now at about almost 2 hours. Yeah? So I just want to make sure that everyone is good on time. And then we make sure that everyone is able to share, yeah? Awesome. While we see if Lycus has any chance of returning to this realm, do you want to hear another song that is kind of up our alley, if that makes sense? Yeah? I do love the songs, because that also, it's something different to be able to share energy, to be able to transfer an emotion that I've never seen that before, like we are now, because something different happens when you really resonate with a song, and it has me all excited. So without further ado, I will put on something that is more of a declaration, and I look forward to see people groove to it.
I stand before the stars with my arms open wide. No more shadows, no more fear inside. I hear the call, I feel the flame. It's time to rise, to cast off the shame. The chains of the past I leave behind. In the forge of life, my power I find. I declare to the universe, hear me now. I am the flame, I will not bow. With the fire in my soul and the strength of the earth, I will forge my legacy, I will know my worth. No more waiting, no more doubt. In the forge of creation, I will break out. I see the path, I feel the weight, but I hold the hammer, I shape my fate. The forge is alive, it calls my name, to rise, to conquer. conquer, to never be the same. I am the storm, I am the fire, I am the builder of my own empire. I declare to the universe, hear me now. I am the flame, I will not bow. With the fire in my soul and the strength of the earth, I will forge my legacy, I will know my worth. No more waiting, no more doubt. In the forge of creation, I will break out. The stars above, the earth below. In every heartbeat, the power grows. From the roots of time to the dreams I hold, I forge my story, brave and bold. I am the anvil, I am the flame, I am the one who shapes the game. I declare to the universe, hear me now. I am the flame, I will not bow. With the fire in my soul and the strength of the earth, I will forge my legacy, I will know my worth. No more waiting, no more doubt. In the forge of creation, I will break out. Hold your path, break the chains. In the fire of life, let your power reign. Rise from the ashes, rise from the dust. In the forge of your soul, in yourself you trust.
Oh my, that always feels good. Something about those declarations. Go ahead, like us. Thank you for being back, brother.
Thank you very much, Tor. First of all, my apologies for the background noise. My power just went out, but I'm still here. All righty. Without further ado, let's move on to segment 3. Where are you going and how can our viewers join you on that journey? Let's move it over to, let's start with Ernie. Yet again, Ernie, you're muted.
You can hear me now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Actually, I've been walking a path and bending the curve to be better every situation that I'm in, to make the best out of it, not for me, for the entire, the complete organization or the people I'm with. So when I'm doing something, I start with the biggest purpose in mind. What can I do to impact the organization I am in, or somebody around me, or the planet? That's why the focus is always on making things better, optimizing, and then I'm gonna make a statement here. It's not more a statement, something I call sustainamation. That is the sustainable way of production or doing things. That is optimizing everything about you, starting at quantum level. But everything starts at quantum level. And if you can optimize everything, then around you or in a company or in an organization, or even if you optimize some items in the organization, that item going to vibrate at a higher level. And if something vibrates at a higher level, everything around it need to vibrate at an higher level. So that means if you have 500 components in an organization, which is not true, you have thousands of, but if you have 500 components and you only optimize 10 or 20, the effect is multiple. Then you can see where my dream team effect came from. I was optimizing and up-leveling people, and they start functioning at 10, 20% higher level. Look at it, what the result will be if everyone function at 20, 30% higher. It is immense. If you do the same with your material, with your machines, with everything, that means there is where exponential growth start. a lot of people using the frame exponential growth, but they don't know what it entails. It's not linear, it's just like this. And you can only have that if you optimize in multidimensional way, not straight, multidimensional. And that is what I bring to companies. So where I'm going right now is all these digital IPs in the form of software, in the form of frameworks, and in the form of compact systems that can do work that normally my engineering team of maybe 3-4 guys were doing in a month. Now, by optimizing those systems and putting them with AI and all the smart software, we are doing that the same work that I was doing with 3 engineers in a month. I can now do with a better version of software we made. We can do it in only 15 minutes with AI and software. The program is on my phone. I will not show it, but the beta version is on my phone. And I just demonstrated for the University of California. I let them have an idea of what is possible. So if you look at all the things that now are coming together, and these things, the IPs and all these systems, I help companies to put these things in place so that they can optimize their organization and without having to work harder, because we should not work harder. We should work smarter and less. And just like what Ivan is doing, chill and let the brain and the universe do the work for you. Because that is how it works. If you work harder, you will not make more money. You have to work consistently, but you have to allow yourself to be in balance, just like Ilonka said. And I have to mention one thing. I learned a lot from Ilonka, a lot. Not because she's my partner, but she taught me how to be more in balance and how to use the soft side of me. I have a lot of feminine energy, but she make it even softer and make me, you help me to express myself in certain way that I have more impact. Business-wise, you don't have to show me. I saw that with my brothers 60 years ago or more. So you don't have to show me that. And you don't have to show me how to press the gas pedal. What you have to show me is how to brake. And that's what she taught me. How to be in balance, how to brake, and how to get more done without putting more energy in. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Ernie. Let's throw it on over to Ilonka. Why not? You're muted. There we go.
So where am I at? What are my next steps? I just have to share. I am so excited that it's out. Yay! We're having a book party on November 1st, where I wish I could get as many people, but we're going to make it a small group with other quantum rebels as yourselves that are really expanding. And I say we're now in a phase of our humanity where it's no longer about just us. The fastest way to the exponential growth that Ernie's talking about, and all of you, Lauren, Olya, and Ivan, and Tor, like us, even on the background there. But it's about it's not only us. We've moved, and I won't say we've moved, but we're moving toward the we energy, where it is about me, but not only me. It is about we. We is no longer an afterthought, so it's about embracing the more expansive and, where we do not have to choose between impact or profit. We can have them both. And actually, when we have them both, now we have exponential growth, because we are, we're in line with that universal vibration, that our gifts are helping to uplift ourselves, and through us, all those whose lives we touch, in ways that, that's fun. I find it beautiful how you all say, and Tor, you said it really well, that we cannot even imagine yet what it is that we are bringing into the world, the effect that that will have. And that's why I want to commend Tor and Lycus and all of you for doing this, the Legacy Forge, for bringing us together, because that is the new systems and structures are built on collaboration. We cannot do it. The complexities that are there are so huge. I mean, Einstein, he's quoted for saying that, we can't fix the problems that we had yesterday with the same mindset for what we're bringing into the world. And that's what you are, allowing this to do, that synergy, that co-creation. So what's exciting is that the book is more than just a book. It's about a movement. It's about really, the book is written for all those, I think I said that before, awakening that visionary voice within, with a special, or I would say a loving nuance to the visionaries that are here, that are co-creating the new systems and structures where we all love to show up in. Imagine a world where we have businesses where we can show up as our full self, where, like Ernie said, when we are in balance and harmony, now we are open to more, not only intelligence, but to universal intelligence, to intuition. And so what we create, the complexities of the world, we can together, we can then, create that newer world, or allow that new world to evolve and right in front of us. And so one of the things I say, it's like, can you see it in the world stage now? Can joy and inspiration be a strategy? And I say yes, because that is the way forward. And so let me see, the quantum. Yes, that's the other thing. I was drawing a blank. The Quantum Rebel community is opening up as well, together with the book. The entrance fee to that community is it is the book, because that's what I found, that that is just the energetics of allowing yourself to be touched by that wisdom that came through. That is that helps bring the like-hearted people together. And so that is come November 1st. That's the planning. I'm saying it now, and then at the same time, I'm like, oh, okay, that's only a few days away. But if all goes as planned, and if not, then it is coming soon, that the Quantum Rebel community is opening up. And I want to do a big shout out to Lauren and Olya for the Enclave also. That is also a community dedicated to uplifting our humanity. Amazing place to be. So my biggest heartfelt yes for that. So that's where we're at. And in January, the idea is to start the first quantum expansion journey, where it's I think what sets Quantum Rebels apart. And I think you see that in all of us, and that's especially, Tori, you haven't mentioned it yet. But what I love about what you bring is the experience. I have it on my not to-do list, but it's written on a top list that Ernie and I are going to come to that mountain of yours and experience the with the fire thing. And so I think that's the red thread. Look at him, he's getting excited. Oh yeah, and with the so it's about the experience. I think that's where we're moving into, that It's not about knowledge anymore. We have amassed so much knowledge as a humanity, but it's our time really to start, or not start, to enhance and to step in that elevated way of living and leading. And that, so in November and in January, we'll start that first immersive experience of, of unleashing the quantum rebel within you. So that's my, where are we going?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ilonka. With that said, why don't we throw it over to Olya?
Here I am. Whew. Massive congrats, Ilonka, to this launching the book as a declaration, I would say, and a way for you to download what's within, for all of us to, learn, be inspired and ignited into action, and at the same time creating space within for, everything you just described as upcoming. So brilliant, yeah, and so lovely to hear that. I have to say, I'm really emotional here when I hear, even when we discuss about systems, new modalities, organizational impact, KPIs, we keep this focus on human, on people. I think this is so important and so underestimated as a power, and probably as the only focus that makes sense, right? So when I hear about Dream Team, Ernie, it's really the only way elevating humans and building capacities inside of us in order to build those frameworks and actually implement modalities in a way that they are meant to, right, for the greater purpose and the progress of entire humanity. So that's kind of, a way of where I'm right now, because until now, I've been working with business owners, company leaders who already have teams, structures in place, and they are improving, elevating those. And these people are also, craving for different modalities. And you heard me talking about leadership miniatures as a way of supporting their efforts and their desires. But at the same time, along the way, I realized during these past 5 years that there is also this insatiable hunger and desire and curiosity within individuals who are not, leaders by title. They are simply, right? They are leaders in their own field, with their own existence, whether they are consultants, project managers, multi-talented, multi-passionate researchers coming from academia, coming from startups, coming from corporate even, all walks of life. And we have this, shared thought and shared vision, which all of you kind of mentioned here. And Tor, you are creating environment for us to express it here. So with this, I realized that there is a really an opportunity, and the moment is now really the very right moment, and the maturity is at the, at least, there is a critical mass, I would say, where we can gather and really, like I said previously, in multidisciplinary way, come together. Because what was mentioned also before was we don't have solutions as individuals, right? And at the same time, so many things we already know and so many solutions already exist, but the implementation, the execution has to come from our joint forces. And this is where these initiatives are so important, like yours, Ilonka, towards yours. Lauren and myself, like you mentioned, we are launching the Enclave environment where we are specifically going to focus on this implementation and execution level, enabling those incredible visions to actually come into realization. And hopefully, this also is going to be an important element, closing that time gap, right? So hyper speeding, but in the right direction. This is my future endeavor, I would say, where most of the things are going to fed, everything that I do is going to feed this initiative, I would say. And we already are gathering incredible group of people, experts, who, as a thought leaders, they're bringing so much magic. And this knowledge, when combined, is actually innovation in itself and represents the roadmap for the implementation. And we are here to facilitate that and enable each step of the way. So yeah, that's in the future for me, I would say. And thank you again for the opportunity to share.
Thank you for sharing. This is Vlunov. How about you?
Oh, I just had to take a minute after Olya because yes, yes to all the things. And I also just hope everyone can take a moment to actually feel the legendary moment process that is happening right now, that I think that my child self would never have thought I'd be sitting here as a literal change maker in a room of change makers at this level. So once again, just honoring that and a deep, deep thanks. And that has me thinking really what it is that I want to bring, what is the greatest desire that I have in my heart, is really to revolutionize how visionaries experience, see their own growth. Excuse me, I'm gonna lose my voice. This is when we know it's getting good. See their own growth, power, legacy, consciousness, to hyperspeed these goals that we're talking about here in multiple dimensions. For me, it's not with necessarily adding more action, but amplifying the potency of the action and unlocking what I like to call, we're all talking about it, that infinite data of your genius for the fullest expression. And my work has always been very deeply individual for the specific result of the collective, essentially. This is the delicious byproduct of really showing up in this way, right? So really moving in that deeper potency for that golden thread I'm always talking about, that moves through your life, that leads you to those highest outcomes if you so choose it. And yeah, Olya eloquently, as always, speaking about that capacity, because visionaries need, it's like essential now. This is, I also toward, like, I feel that urgency. It's essential that visionaries have this kind of capacity. And like Ernie was talking about also so eloquently, being able to be open, that channel, right? So all that being said, there's that hunger and that curiosity to lead themselves or yourselves, all of us, through those realms. And so what can people look forward to? All I know is that when visionaries have a place to fully express, to move in potency and power, this creates the biggest impact. This is a journey that allows nuance, that gives full permission, that redefines what it means to live and lead with unmatched energy, creativity, and true innovation. So in my world, this is always also multidimensional, multifaceted. There's always for me the point like this, events like this, me stepping up more into speaking, allowing others to speak. So I have a lot of opportunities for those in my world to really shine their light and their voice. So of course, there's going to be the continuation and raw, powerful discussions on the Invisible Compass podcast. And this is really about those who've gone before them or who are traveling alongside other visionaries, to listen to hear their journeys, who have taken these huge risks that I know every single one of you have, to forge that path forward. And Tor was the first one on season 2, so go listen to that. That was absolutely incredible. And by the way, he always downplays what his journey was like. So if you really want to hear literally how extraordinary that is, highly recommend. So there's that. I also have the Black Diamond Lounge that I do on LinkedIn, all for the idea that we need more spaces like this for the visionary's journey to be seen. And when the visionary is seen, once again, that's leading back and siphoning into like my one-to-one work, which that is the core of. So of course, I'm going to be continuing the collaboration with the Legacy Forge here in the core, where we literally create these roundtables for visionaries to thrive, and the Enclave, which, like, just no words. You guys have explained it a bit already, but really having that space for visionaries to gather, to be seen, to no longer feel that they need to translate. I think a lot of us have walked the lone wolf path, and that is no longer a story that we need to tell ourselves. Of course, we're disruptors, rebels, innovators, but there is a space for you to actually bring that and let that live and breathe and not have censorship around that. I think that is really important. So my next level work involves all of this beautiful ecology, along with my own personal work, the one-to-one, extremely bespoke experiences that I desire to give to my clients so that they can unlock these latent codes, that they can also work in an extremely grounded, strategic, energetic way. And then, of course, I look at everything as art. So that experience is, once again, multifaceted in the sense that there is art, there are audio activations, there is very strategic mentorship involved in that process. But any of those who are really on the fringe, who feel that there has not been a place to be fully expressed, to if you've experienced like, wait, that's too much, or oh, you're living in la la land, or oh, you're delusional, yeah, come hang with us, because you will not hear that. In fact, you're going to be challenged to such a degree, whether you're stepping into the Legacy Forge, or you're with Quantum Rebel, or you're talking to Ernie, or the Enclave, wherever it is, here is where we're going to challenge that next level. So all in all I have to say is there's going to be more creativity, more innovation, more raw and real human experience that is going to nourish the soil of this multidimensional garden. And yeah, you're invited to participate, learn, expand in whatever way you desire at this stage of your vision, and in whatever way you want to shred time and space.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Really appreciate that. Tor, take it away for us.
I was thinking of blowing the horn as we kind of go out of this, but just like a disclaimer, the sound on this microphone will decrease as I do it. But before that, where I'm going, logistically, I'm raising frequencies, trying to build centers that makes all this simpler. Just to kind of get people in from all over the world and sit with a campfire without internet, Wi-Fi, electronics malfunctioning, all these different things, because we have to have more of these, right? So my vision, my whole dream, as it were, with where people go, you're in La La Land, is when I say I want to bridge the digital and the physical with the metaphysical and be able to play again like kids. And just know that if I was a kid with resources of an adult, I would have a lot more fun. But if I'm adult and I forgot to play, it's kind of hard, because there's always this disconnect from the people I talk to. So I want to be able to play, and while playing, disrupt a few industries like the education system, the medical system, the whole everything that I can think of that is creating disharmony or friction in how I see people go through it, because there are too many things that are just redundant. The system is not efficient. So I want to go in there and gamify a life, elevate frequencies, and just do that epically. Which includes, smoke bombs or smoke effects and horns and you name it. But it makes it simple. It's a horn and a bonfire. With that, you can do anything. So, I am just going to leave off for the future with I'm looking very much forward to it, because this is one of the first things. It's just the beginning of a chapter. We're going to create way more spaces, physical and digital. And as Ernie said, with the technology today, one can use AI as a tool, or you can use the technology to create brand new technology, like the whole music and how we can just transfer energies, and I would say wisdom and everything. With a horn and a bonfire, you can do it. Yeah, that's a T-shirt right there. All right. To be able to do this easier. Also, I'm currently going
Rest
through.
in peace, headphone users. I
Rest in
have to
peace.
place this disclaimer there.
Yes, rest in peace, headphone users. Also, just for those people watching, we've had technical issues for the last 1.5 hours. So I'm pretty astounded that we're still here. That's why you can see some of me mousing around and clicking things. This is more than it seems. If things goes well, you're going to see something that is physically impossible, and I'm not going to spoil more than that. For the new chapter, guys. I'm a little bit lightheaded, but that is a new technology that has been forgotten too. Thank you, everyone, for that. Now I feel good.
Thank you to everybody. And thank you for that, Tor.
Thank
There's
you.
true power in all of this.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
I would like to leave our viewers just with a little something from me as well, before we move over to the more open-ended discussion portion of the stream. There is beauty within the symphony of the void. All it takes is to tune in, listen, and dance towards it. And that is our purpose here. That is why we collaborate. That is why the 7 of us are in this room. That is why there's way more than 7 people not in this call right now. So click the links. Talk to us. Reach out. And develop your legacy. And with that, let's move to the next round, shall we? So this is the more open-ended discussion. Everybody feel free to unmute. Let's talk, let's chat if you've got time. Feel free to jump out if you do not have time. Thank you to all you. Really appreciate your attendance And thank you to the viewers. Thank you for tuning in, for listening. And if you are watching this stream after the fact that it has been live, don't worry, we've got you covered with bite-sized shorts that we have posted on the Legacy Forge's YouTube channel, as well as all around, such as TikTok and Instagram and so on and so forth. So if you prefer more bite-sized pieces of this stream, more important points that are driven through, maybe you want to identify a specific individual that said something that you just can't remember, but you want to find it in order to get into contact with this person, we've got that all chopped up. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
So, who wants to go first? Like, what are your thoughts about this?
I have a question.
Yes.
A thought and a question. So I from the first song, I wrote things down like wisdom of the old and the vision of the new.
I like that line.
Of course, that was my favorite part, obviously. And then further along, like breaking out and knowing my worth, forging my legacy. I am the one who shapes the game. I am builder of my empire. So with that as a North Star, so to say, me myself, as a philologist, I am very aware and obsessed, we can say, but okay, we don't have to put labels. With words, articulation, going deeply into, exploring the meaning, crafting new if necessary, and transferring from all different, from engineering vocabulary, from, maybe poetic ways of expressing, traditional, maybe even leadership, corporate vocabulary, researchers, like medical, biotech. We have a lot of, there to combine and play with. And that kind of gives me a really clear in my mind picture of how novel modalities actually come right into like the first stage of realization once we define and articulate and propose that as a new way of first expressing and then traversing through that new modality. And also when I said expressing, we mentioned, and I'm sorry that Ivan is not here, but this was like really important what he mentioned so many times, that expressing ourselves in the most authentic, raw form is so important for each of us, and not to be, put into this little box of how pitching should look like, how leadership sounds, how creating from the void and visionary expresses, etc., etc. So from that perspective, I'm going back and reconnecting more and more with this philological side of me, and I'm curious to hear from each of you how vocabulary, literally words that you use to express yourself impact what you do or don't do, or how they liberate you or not. I think it's really interesting for the audience as well to hear from different perspectives about this, if you would like to share.
I'll say something about that. I love that you brought it up, Alia, because I remember I went to this, it was Roy Martina, and he said to us, there's a couple of words that you just need to scrap from your dictionary. And one of them was trying. I'm trying to do this. And it really struck a chord with me. And I started just being aware, that how normalized that is, that we just say those words because it's part of the collective that has been passed on eons over time, but that it has such an impact on us, because when we're trying, we're not in that creative highest frequency. And that's something I love what Ivan said, that it's in that moment, that I find myself really watching the words I use. And when I see myself saying those words in that moment, I'm like, okay, choose something different because it has an impact on what I'm bringing into the world. And so I say that a lot to myself, and also that the words that we use do matter because they carry the energy with it. And having said that, my mom always laughs at me because Annie and I were in a transition. So I'll be moving from Aruba to the Netherlands. And she goes like, you better not go sharing all those strange words because I come up with my own words. That when there's no word in the dictionary that can explain what I mean. But she laughs and said, well, they'll just get used to me and you'll get used to these different ways of saying it. But it matters. And what I love is that each one of us brings a different perspective. And we say, we're basically saying, not that we're saying the same thing, but the principles are the same. But listening to each one of us separately, it expands the understanding, the collective understanding, the collective appreciation, because each one of us comes from a different culture, different upbringing, different perspective. And that's what I love, what the community sense that you're creating, that we're all creating, because that then just amplifies the words and the meaning that these words actually carry. So that's what I would say to that. Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Ernie. You don't need to raise your hand, by the way. You can just unmute. This is the general discussion portion. We're just chatting now.
Okay, gotcha. Now, one of the things Ilonka mentioned, and Oli as well, we all bring certain things to the table and are all different, but it's the totality of us all together that makes it a lot more powerful. One thing that I want to mention is that we are change makers. We function differently than the mainstream. And the moment that you say that and you realize that, you have to know that you're going to get a lot of resistance from mainstream. I've been dealing with that my whole life. From the school system, since I was 5-6 years, I noticed that, because the moment you're not functioning like the line they know, they're going to resist. And I've never followed the line, because if I follow the line, I will get the same result than they have. So that's why my results were always different and will be different. So if you look at what's happening a lot of times in businesses, in organization, they keep you small a lot of times, because the moment that you are doing things differently, you will get a lot of resistance. And I have noticed that even with colleagues, that they are waiting for things to go wrong, that I can be fired, but I prove them wrong. Everything that they are waiting, because you get some downloads, you get ideas, you have intuition, so you are not alone. You are not alone with your rational mind trying to solve something. So you have a bigger purpose, and also you have the universe working with you. You have your intuition. So a lot of times what we do as change makers, what we do as innovative people is not linear. It's not linear. And people who are thinking linear and are acting linear, they're going to fight you because they don't understand what you're busy with. They don't see what you see. When I talk about machines, I don't think about the machine. I hear the machine. It's running. The only thing what I have to do, I have to put the parts together. But what you just mentioned, I'm going to try. You don't try. You know it's there. You don't try anything. You know it's there. It's only a matter of time. It's already manifested in the universe. You don't have to, the only thing you have to do is to convert it that people can see it and see how to deal with the resistance. When I was young, I didn't know how to deal with the resistance. But later I try to learn, and I learn and I understand that a lot of times you have to let them be part of your success. And when you let them be part of your success, you will have less resistance. And that's one of the lessons I learned in life.
I agree. Also, the whole changing the vocabulary. Sometimes you don't even notice it. Just years go by, and then it's like, whoa, what happened? The resistance. I could not agree more. I could that's one of the hardest things to swallow as well. Just to get people get through that phase when you're trying to speak your truth, something that you see, and you get the resistance, and then trying to swim upriver until you just realize, you know what, better just let it flow. How is it that? How does that happen every time?
Because
we're just trying to tell us something.
That's I swear, I am completely 100% serious when I say that. I'm trying to keep it so zen that I don't screw up electronics.
No,
you know,
you just gotta
what I noticed for a long time, but the last couple of months, I experienced why I'm sharing my stuff, why I'm talking about my stuff. I experienced quite some times in China, here in Europe, and in America, that they try to run with your stuff. And the last time I had it was with a billionaire, not a small billionaire, someone who's doing work for the US government for a lot of billions at the time. And I cannot understand that there are situations that they try to run with your idea. You can only make a bad copy of my God-given talent or what the universe gave me. You're gonna make a bad copy. So that is one of the challenges I have faced my own life, because I'm very open in sharing what I know. And I think that one of the things that is important, that we find a way to communicate with everyone, that they can have value in what you have to share, and you can have value in what they have to share, without have to be being afraid.
I think to piggyback on what you're saying, and what you see, basically the all of us doing, is that sense of community where, yes, because we live in the world that it is now, and so we like you say, we do engage with the mainstream world, but that's also putting a label on, on regular, on just, the masses of our humanity, where they're at. And I like what you say, Ernie, that you always also include them in your success. What I love that what we're also doing is that we are also creating space for us, that we are not alone anymore. Because that is what, through my life, I would experience, that if I'm alone doing this, everybody is like cheering me on, oh, go Ilonka. And so I go first, but you're the lone person and your foot gets cut. And then when you're looking behind you, it's like, okay, where's all the support? It's like, I'm standing here all by myself, carrying the whole load, not having a contract renewed. It's like, okay, I thought you guys were all here with me. You're gone. And that's what I love. But when we come together, it's very difficult to cut. Like one person, you can just chop their feet and they're gone. But when we come together as visionaries, you cannot cut a bunch of anchored, humans, you can't do that, So, and that there's so much strength in us coming together and collaborating in ways that each one of us is doing in our own unique way, and that is so beautiful. And then also integrating with what you say, because that's something that I love, Ernie, about your business model has always been, if he says it very simply, if we eat, you eat, So, if we're going to do work together, then it's not about, me. Of course, the I remains important, but it's an I that is now embedded in a we, so that, it's no like, and that's the beauty that we're helping, or we're empowering these visionaries to create these new businesses, to create these new systems and structures in all the areas, schools, sports, that have that more collective upliftment embedded in it, And so a lot of times when people, you turn on the news, people say, oh, you shouldn't turn on the news. I turn it on because I love, to me, it's like, okay, it keeps me in touch with where the world is at, because that's for me, like if I want to shift the world, then I need to know where are we at, And what I love, it's amazing that we're actually seeing it play in front of us. You see, it's like this, it's almost like you see the new world emerging on television, because it's what, and yes, there's the vision, but I really believe that by the work we're doing, that it's pushing us through the vision into that oneness and that unity, and that gives a lot of hope. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, everything is made out of atoms, right?
yeah.
Those atoms are all made out of quarks. Those quarks are levels of pure energy. Therefore, everything is energy. It is simply vibrating a different frequency.
Yeah.
So even though, we have it plastered on everything at the Lacey Forge, raising frequencies, right? But that's what all of us are doing. That's why we're raising those frequencies. Because we are all one. One is all. We are both the universe, and the universe is us. So we can never be alone, especially when our frequencies align.
Yep. Well said.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing right now.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You said it, Lycus.
Can we just celebrate
You
that
know-
we get to see Lycus's face?
Yes.
The Loom Smith.
You are totally right, Lucas. If we in the world would understand this wisdom that you just shared, our effort would go into aligning those frequencies, that you will not have all these wars, all these frictions, because there's enough. Look, a lot of people, they are talking about energy, fighting about energy. There's enough of energy. There's enough energy in the world, but they are fighting about oil. There is
And
energy
it's
all
simply
around us.
utilizing that.
You
it's
know that
simply
we
utilizing that and then putting them on a graph, right? If you're familiar with macroeconomics, putting them on a scarcity graph, but not scarcity in the sense of a lack of something. No, scarcity in an instance of something that already exists.
Yep.
Because once you have your y-axis, what already exists, and you have your x-axis, which is the frequencies aligning, you have what I call the moving average of equilibrium. Because as soon as you draw those supply and demand curves in,
Yep.
you'll notice the sweet spot. But as more and more people align with that frequency, more and more people start to collaborate, what happens? Does it not move upward in a positive direction? Which means it grows bigger and
Yep.
bigger
Yep.
and bigger.
Yep.
And that's global change.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. on that note, I'm gonna say
think-
goodbye to everyone.
I think that was
I
beautiful.
just want to express my deepest gratitude for inviting me here and for being part of this beautiful journey, forging legacies collectively. And it's just a joy to have to be
Because-
here with you all.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna follow you shortly. I had a couple of calls out of 3 continents, so I need to go. I need to go and attend those. So, as well. I really enjoyed this. I like the openness how we share, and I do believe in collaboration, and I do believe in everyone here in the group can make me better.
Yeah.
And I do believe I have some small things to share with everyone here.
Big things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't be modest.
No, if you are talking about yourself, keep it small.
We need to own our greatness.
Yeah, that's right.
Humble ways.
That's right. That's right. You know
But don't
what I
worry.
love? Let me put on the table, then you will see how great I am. Let me put it on the table. I play small, and when I put it on the table, I give you 300, 400, 500% profit. Then you will say, Jesus, do it again.
Experience. Yes. Lead with experience.
Okay.
Love you all.
Thank you all.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. That was an experience. I think I'm also gonna do the
Yeah.
same very soon, and I really appreciate you guys. Seriously.
I gotta drop out as well.
Yes.
Likewise.
See you soon.
Right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so
Bye.
much for your participation, and thank you for answering my calls.
It was amazing. Amazing. Thank you both.
And,
And Olya.
Thank you and speak soon.
Speak very soon.
Definitely.
This
Definitely.
is amazing, and I
Trust me,
look
the
forward to
next
future.
one,
This was
wait
so
until you see.
failed. We stumbled through the whole thing, but it got good. It got really good. So
Yeah.
next one.
Powerful. Well done. Well
Wait
done.
until you see my next flow chart.
Oh.
Who says that? When he says
Bring
that.
the charts. Bring the charts. Let's go.
Hell
All
yeah.
right, my friends.
Great. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Have a beautiful day.
All right. So it was
All right.
just the two of us. We are still live, but I think that
And
this
so,
this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here. You who still watch, like us, you did an amazing
Yeah.
job as an MC. Even though the power went out, the software is still frozen. I'm not sure how I can close the stream. I can't switch streams. So it was meant to be, it seems, because every single force of nature that I've seen during this last 2 hours has been just affirming and validating that this had to happen. I look forward to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Fantastic. All right, brother. I will see you very soon. And
Will do, buddy.
to you watching, subscribe, share this whole thing, and look forward to the shorts that, like I mentioned earlier, because we're gonna repurpose a lot of these, take out snippets, valuable tidbits and resources, and also, of course, let you know where you can find these magical people. I think that's it. Do you have anything you want to add for the closing of this?
You're not alone. You're not alone.
That's the truth. You're not alone. Just reach out. Use that voice of yours. You know, people need to do the things they want to do. They need to do in order to get the things they want to have. Even if that's just peace. Reach out. Find the people.